Hi, and welcome to the Changing Perspectives podcast, the show where we discuss a variety of topics including grief, parenting, health and wellness, and relationships. Join us and explore a number of changing perspectives. We're your hosts, Jenni and Josh Brennan. Hi, Jenni.
Hi.
Everett is trying to get under my chair right now. I don't know why he's squirming under the desk in the chair. What's he doing? Is he out on your side?
I think he's looking for my protein bar wrapper.
Always the scavenger. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 47. Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, nope. He's trying to rip our carpet and make himself a little bed.
Oh, Jacob. Jeez.
Everett.
That's not Jacob at all. That's
okay.
Everett.
All right. Okay. Let's get it together.
Okay. All right. Jenni, welcome back to the United States. Is that raspberry indicative of the feeling that you don't want to be here?
Yeah.
You want to be back in Toronto?
I like to be on vacation.
Welcome back. That was fun. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in Toronto.
Well, I think we still need to do a part 2.
We should, because I was listening actually this morning to that episode, and some of the things we were talking about, like the airport, Billy Bishop, and we talked about how there's nothing at the airport.
Quiet. Don't give it away.
I know, but we'll come back to that. So yeah, we'll do a part 2.
Yeah.
But that was fun. Thank you for joining me in Toronto.
Thank you for letting me tag along.
It was fun. But we are back in the United States, back in our home studio in beautiful New England, ready to enjoy the weekend. We're recording this on the weekend. It's a beautiful weekend. We had football this morning. We got football tomorrow. So lots of fun stuff going on. And we have a new episode for all of you today. So what are we talking about today?
We
Jenni?
are talking about mindfulness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We've been teasing this one for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think we haven't leaned into it yet?
Because I don't think that you and I are good practitioners of mindfulness.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's
so this
why.
is a do as we say, not as we do.
Right. But do as we want to.
Yes. And as we have done in the past.
Right.
You've
Yes.
definitely reaped the rewards of mindfulness.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess we have to start off with answering the question, what is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is exactly what it sounds like. It's being fully aware, like being really mindful, kind of conscious about whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
And it can be, you can mindfully sort of sit and do some meditation. You can mindfully eat. You can mindfully be with your partner. You can mindfully walk. You can mindfully exercise. It's
Right.
really drawing your attention to everything. You know, your mind wanders a lot. If we sort of think about our episode from last week about anxiety,
Right.
mindfulness is a really great approach to helping manage your anxiety because it forces that sort of anxious thought track to stop, because you can't be fully aware of, how the birds sound outside and what the grass smells like and what the grasshoppers are doing if you're mindfully walking while also having all of your anxious chatter. You can't do both of those.
Right.
So if you're going to practice mindfulness, it really kind of presses pause on all of your worries, all of your anxieties. It's hard. It sounds really easy, like, okay, Jenni, so I'm just going to sit there and sit at the park and be really aware of where I am. Yeah, it sounds easy, but if you try it, you'll see that your mind wanders, because our minds wander.
Absolutely.
And it will wander to...
Mine's wandering right now.
What's it wandering to?
I'm hungry a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I had a protein bar.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of jealous of your protein
Sorry,
bar. I
I
had
should've
breakfast. I ran, had breakfast, and I haven't eaten anything since.
Yeah, me too. I didn't run, but
anyway.
So yes, so you're not mindfully here, right? Like so many of us,
right.
That's what we do. We're doing one thing while also kind of thinking about at least one other thing, but usually 5 other things.
Multiple things.
Right. And so that's not good. The research shows that our brains really need some time to stop, to slow down. And so mindfulness is a really, really great tool for that. You know, it grew out of sort of ancient Eastern philosophies and techniques, but really we've seen over the years the benefits. You know, the real sort of data shows that if you are practicing mindfulness regularly, you're going to have health benefits, mental health benefits, relationship benefits, because you're going to sort of slow your brain down.
So it's not just awareness, it's non-judgmental awareness, right?
Right. So a component of it is that when your mind does wander, because it does, and it will, you don't judge it. You don't say like, oh, I can't do this. This is too hard. I stink. My mind's wandering. You kind of just say, okay, it wandered, and bring it back to focus. So some people have a little more, they find it a little more, I was going to say success, but I don't want to label success and failure with mindfulness. Some people find it a little easier if they are focusing on a word or like a mantra, like I am enough, or some sort of mantra like that, so that when their mind wanders, they can bring it back to that statement or that word or that picture. I always talk about it as if, we've all sort of laid on the grass at one point in time and looked up at the sky and watched the clouds sort of move by. You sort of look at your thoughts like clouds in the sky. You see them, you can acknowledge them, like, oh, here I am, I'm trying to be mindful and I just worried about dinner. Okay, I'm going to come back to focus. The good news is today, in almost 2020, there are probably a bazillion apps to help you with this.
Yes.
So you don't just have to sort of listen to a podcast or read a book. You can download an app which will literally walk you through everything. It will walk you through anything from like a 1-minute meditation to a 5-minute to a weekly plan for mindfulness and meditation to 50 minutes of meditation and mindfulness. There's also apps that are really specific. So I work with a lot of couples who are struggling with infertility, and there are now a lot of pregnancy and infertility mindfulness and meditation apps. They're really kind of guided through that. When you were kind of actively practicing mindfulness and you became and meditation, you became a really big proponent of it. Yeah. Because you would tell all your friends and they would be like, okay, yeah, that's cool.
What do you mean?
How did it work for you? What was helpful for you? Because you're someone that I never would have thought would have sort of leaned into that practice.
I want to get back into it. Let me just say that. Okay. Well, before I answer that question, I think it's a good question. Can I come take a step back just for a second? And I don't know that I'm correct in what I'm about to say, but I want to say that this is an incorrect assumption that mindfulness equals, or the only way to practice mindfulness is meditation. That's incorrect.
Right. Okay. Right.
Because I think that some people just assume it's meditation. That's what that means. When I first started to be aware of mindfulness, pun intended, I only thought it was meditation. Yeah. I've only recently learned that it means more than that. And you could accomplish mindfulness via other avenues besides meditation.
Right. So let's put your answer to the question on hold for a second. I think a good way to understand it is to think about how unmindful we are during the day. So let's walk through a given day. Think about, for me, my alarm goes off and then I'm kind of scrolling mindlessly, I guess, through social media and emails before I even get out of bed, which is bad.
Up on emails,
don't do that,
notifications,
because then,
all that
if there's some bad stuff, boom, you're getting slapped in the face with it right away. I don't really need to do that. Really, the beginning of the day is a great time for you to practice mindfulness. Like, how does my body feel as it's coming awake? What does it feel like outside? It's a great time to sit outside or sit at your kitchen table with a cup of coffee or a glass of tea or something, and just be aware of your surroundings, fully aware. But we don't tend to do that. We tend to sort of, alarm goes off and the race starts and we are full speed ahead. Then what about our drives to work or our commutes to work if you take a train? How often have any of us sort of arrived at our destination and been like, I have no idea how I got here. Right. I was just sort of on autopilot.
All the time.
All the time. I don't really know. I had the radio on and maybe I was listening. Maybe I was kind of listening to a podcast or an Audible, a book on tape or something. I don't really know. It just kind of got here on autopilot. You were not mindfully driving. You were not aware. Right. Then at work, for those of us that are working out of the home, we tend to sort of just plow through one task to the next, and then suddenly it's the end of the day, and we didn't even get a chance to like catch our breath, take a break. So many people are eating lunch at their desks and not sort of taking a break outside, or they're taking sort of working lunches. Maybe they're leaving their desk,
Right.
but still sort of having a meeting over lunch. Stay-at-home parents, kind of same thing. So often kids are busy and there's not an opportunity to kind of sit and just be aware, fully
Present.
aware and present,
Right.
because you're always kind of preparing for the next thing, even when the kids are playing. So many of us parents are, tidying up behind them, planning dinner, cleaning the house, things like that. And then like, think about when you and I go out. We just went out every night for dinner,
Right.
in Toronto. Can you say that we were both fully aware and present every moment that we were out?
No, in fact, there was a couple times we went out where literally we spent over half the time trying to figure out what our next step was.
Right.
So we weren't really mindful in the moment.
Right. Yeah.
And it took some, reflection and realization to go, okay, we need to just focus on this cool restaurant we're in right now.
Right.
And enjoy it and be aware. You've provided us with lots of different resources for this episode.
Yes.
Are they all from the same?
No, they're all different.
Okay.
I think that this one, that's from therapistaid.com. I like this one the best. Do you have that one in front of you?
I do.
I like it because visually, I think it's good. It sort of talks about the components of mindfulness, the benefits of mindfulness, and then a few sort of samples of mindfulness practice.
So I have in front of me as well. We'll put these all in the show
Yes.
notes. Mindfulness.org, a little like one pager here, and it references a few different definitions. A few different definitions. And the first one I want to share with folks, and I'm going to get back to your meditation question, I promise. It says, the non-judgmental observation of the ongoing stream of internal and external stimuli as they arise. And that's from, must be an author, Ruth Bayer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that author,
No.
but mindfulness is simply the knack of noticing without comment whatever is happening in your present experience, keeping one's consciousness alive to the present reality. Those are from different resources. Mindfulness, so again, mindfulness.org is what I'm reading from. But what mindfulness is not, which I think is important to point out, it's not a relaxation exercise. It's not a way to avoid difficulty. It's not a way to bypass personality problems, and it's not about achieving a different state of mind. Does that all make sense to you?
It makes sense. I think when we think about sort of meditation and like think about us growing up, mindfulness, and we're like 40. Mindfulness wasn't really a thing that was talked
one of
about,
us
right?
is.
Well, you're almost 40. Mindfulness wasn't a thing, but now, like our kids, 2 years ago, the local school system started implementing something called the Calm Classroom, which is really mindfulness and meditation, and they incorporated it into each and every day. They didn't do that when we were in school.
No.
They didn't do that when we were sort of pursuing our teacher certification. They didn't teach us as teachers to do that. So this is still really new. But mindfulness itself, meditation itself, they're not new. These are like ancient Eastern practices.
Right.
And so I think when people hear the word meditation, although I think it's changing, and mindfulness, because I think people, they do sort of, they're in sort of the same bucket. They think of like Buddha, and they think of,
Right.
Someone sitting on a mountain in India and meditating for years and years to find true enlightenment.
Right.
So yes, that sort of definition of what it is not definitely makes sense to me.
And it also says on this resource here what mindfulness is about. It's about being present to our experience, however distressing or upsetting it may be. Mindfulness is about bringing us closer to difficulties, but without becoming caught up in our reactions to difficulties. It is a slow, gentle coming to grips with who we are and settling into our current experience in a relaxed, alert, open-hearted way. And I think that does a nice job of defining it. And, within those definitions individually, mindfulness could mean something different to everybody.
Right.
A little bit, right?
Right. And how you want to incorporate it can be different for everybody. You know, you could, I know our local YMCA ran a program about a year and a half ago that was about mindful eating. So it wasn't a diet program. It wasn't like a Weight Watchers or anything like that. It really helped people to figure out how to be really fully present and aware when you're eating, rather than like the protein bar I just ate. So I had breakfast this morning hours and hours ago, and then I went and I did some self-care, got a pedicure. I haven't had one in 3 months.
Look nice,
and got my nails done. Yeah, I have a new nail lady. She's
Those
my
are
favorite.
sparkly.
She was like an artist.
Wow.
Yeah, I really like her. I had a
Are
gift.
these
I had a
dips
gift. They're
again?
always dips. Yeah.
Very cool.
So did a little bit
Self-care
of
is not
self-care.
selfish.
Right. And then I ran some errands and then was prepping some stuff for a barbecue and all that stuff. Wasn't doing anything mindfully there. And then as we sat down to record, I realized, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in like 8 hours. And I just literally shoved a protein bar in my mouth. I was not mindfully aware at all.
Right.
I couldn't tell you, like, did I savor the taste? Was I aware of how it felt? Did I enjoy it? Nope. I was just putting calories in my body so that I wouldn't become hangry.
Right.
But you could apply mindfulness to your meals. And research shows that when people do that, they actually eat less because they're actually paying attention to whether or not they're full and how the food actually tastes. So you can apply mindfulness really to anything.
So I want to get back to your question.
Uh-huh.
And so I used, we'll have lots of show notes for this episode, but I used an app called Headspace.
Mm-hmm.
And there are lots of meditation apps out there, and
Calm is also a good one.
Yes.
CALM.
They have like trial periods where you get to try it out for a week or two. And then usually there's a nominal fee that you have to pay, either yearly or monthly, whatever. But there's all kinds of different meditation formats, how much time you have. You can really meditate sort of anywhere. And I think that I was getting better at it when I was doing it.
Better.
More aware of my breathing and whatnot. Okay. And it's really hard to shut your brain off.
It became easier for you to sort of tune into that part.
Right.
Okay.
And I think I did a 2-minute meditation, I want to say. It wasn't very long. And I did it at my desk at work. I would come in, shut my door to my office.
To start your day?
To start my day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at work. Because I'd been up for a couple hours by that point, mm-hmm. between getting ready and commuting. But by the time I was there, before I opened my email or anything, I did a 1 to 2 minute meditation. Mm-hmm. I think
with the app would sort of tell you what to do. So there would be this calm, this sort of soothing. Well, in the middle of this, I'll sort of give you an example. It would be something like, sit in a comfortable place and begin paying attention to your breathing, right? Is this sort of like what
exactly,
they would say?
Yeah.
Notice the physical sensation of air filling your lungs and then slowly leaving. When your mind wanders, which it will, simply notice your thoughts and turn your attention back to breathing. Mm-hmm. So there's someone on the app who's sort of speaking in this calm tone,
exactly,
telling you what to do, kind of normalizing for you that your thoughts will wander and then we'll bring it back.
Right.
Okay.
And so I enjoyed it. I definitely want to do it again. I just had to be quite honest, it was just a matter, my trial ended and I was like, well, do I really want to pay for this? Oh. And so, I mean, I definitely want to get back into it. And I don't think you have to use an app. I'm sure there's YouTube videos or other ways you could meditate or other resources. But I was getting to the point where I finally was actually meditating for those 2 minutes. And when I first started, it was wandering mind, brain not shutting off as much. But I do like focusing on breathing. And I was just reading more from the mindfulness.org resource sheet you have printed off for us here. And it looks like there's sort of, we talked about the five senses during the stress episode, and I'm sure we can talk about it a little bit more here, but it looks like there's a technique that combines breathing and sort of your environment, like the five senses, where it says focusing awareness on the breath when a specified environmental cue occurs. So this technique has been described in detail by, I'm going to butcher this, Thich Nhat Hanh.
I'm sure that's not how you say that.
Maybe. The cues must be, I think it's an author from a publication in 1991. The cues we might use include waiting for a phone to be answered, waiting at a red traffic light, walking, listening to music, getting dressed. So you're using these environmental cues around you. You're noticing things, and you're focusing your breathing on those.
So I interpret that differently.
Okay.
So I interpret that as rather, like you said, I have to make time for it, for the mindfulness.
Right.
This is saying pick a or a few cues in your environment, and when those cues happen, focus on your breath. Do some mindfulness then.
Okay.
Sort of as like, so when I'm talking to clients or patients about something like this, I try to have them tie it to a routine. I often ask, like, do you take medication in the morning? Do you take medication at night or any vitamins? Because that's part of a routine. Do you take your contacts out or put your contacts in, brushing your teeth, things that happen every day, so that you do have time. You pair it with that, whether it's something like, let's just focus on square breathing or feeling your breath, filling your lungs. So this is another way to do that. Sort of training yourself like, oh, it's a red light. That means this is an opportunity for me to be mindful about where I am right now and focus on my breath.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's good. And
mindfully walking. Nobody mindfully walks.
Right.
What
does that look like, though?
Well,
just so being aware of what's around you.
Yeah. Like when you were, did you run at the park today?
I did.
So were you aware of your surroundings, or
No.
were you just kind of, in your head thinking about thoughts?
I was listening to a podcast.
Okay. All right.
While I ran.
So could you tell me, what it smelled like at the park this morning?
Yeah.
How many people were there? What the birds were doing?
I was
Did you
peripherally
see,
aware of those
grasshoppers?
things. I thought I saw what I thought was a frog, but I was just a leaf blowing.
Okay.
One of my route includes running by the town pool, which is closed, but there's still water in there, which doesn't seem like it's very safe with all the mosquito issues going on. But anyway, and there's I don't know, I heard trickling of water. So every time I ran by the pool, I heard that trickling sound. So I guess that was...
I guess you were kind of
I was kind of aware, but again, I was listening to a podcast, but I should probably try a run without listening to anything.
Oh, interesting.
And see, especially if I'm early, like it was early morning and there was nobody else really around, couple of walkers, but...
I haven't tied anything back to Real Housewives lately, but...
So we're due, and you haven't talked about Target in a while.
I know. Yeah, we're due, because when we were in Toronto, I actually watched some television for the first time in a while. So I was watching an episode where the Orange County women go to like a mindfulness, like health,
like a retreat,
but like a wellness retreat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they have a lot of great stuff there. But one of the things they have is a mindfulness labyrinth, or maybe it was a meditation labyrinth, but it's this like sort of maze built out of rocks. And what you do is you take a sort of scrap of paper and you write down sort of an intention. I think they said something that you want to let go of. Yeah. And then you mindfully walk through this path. So it's this long sort of circling path that takes a while. And you're just supposed to be fully aware of where you are, what you're feeling, what your breath is like, where your thoughts are wandering. And then at the end of that little like labyrinth there, then you leave your intention or you leave your worry under like a pile of rocks, and then you mindfully leave. So there's all, you said, how can you like mindfully walk? There's an example of a mindful walk, like with a real purpose there around something that you were letting go. And the women that did it, they had very emotional experiences from it.
So non-judgmental awareness. We keep seeing that phrase pop up. Does that mean like objectiveness, sort of, being aware of what's, for instance, on the walk, right? I guess, what does that really mean? So if I hear like the trickling of water, do I just know, become aware that it's there, or do I say
it's
I
more
like that, or
no,
that makes me feel good, or
no, it's more like don't judge your own thoughts. Kind of just naming and acknowledging the thoughts that you have, but not then allowing yourself to get judgmental about yourself and about your thoughts. Like, oh, I'm an awful person because I just saw a pit bull and I think pit bulls are the worst. And gosh, that makes me an awful person.
But is it okay to say, I love pit bulls, that makes me happy? Like,
yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Right,
but then it shouldn't become a gateway into like beating yourself up. It shouldn't be a gateway into that negative self-talk loop.
Because non-judgmental, or being judgmental, could, in my mind, I interpret that as good or bad. Judging something to be good, judging something to be bad. So non-judgmental awareness would indicate that you're be completely objective with your thoughts as you.
Yeah, it would be like I'm walking, I hear the birds chirping, I hear the trickling of the water. Oh, I see a dog that made me feel warm inside and I smiled. And then you're not kind of allowing your mind to wander anymore. Right.
Okay.
I think my recommendation for people who are trying sort of mindfulness and meditation for the first time is to use an app on your phone, and or to really kind of have a word that you focus on, so that when I say, pull your focus and your attention back, you're pulling it back to something tangible, like perhaps your breath, or perhaps a word like peace or hope, or joy, or a mantra like I am enough.
Right.
So that when your mind starts to wander, you can objectively say, oh, there, my mind's wandering. I am enough.
Right.
And kind of pull it back.
Well, I think we should take a quick break.
Okay.
And when we come back, I can talk about a couple of things I really liked about meditating.
Okay, cool.
All right. We will be right back. Are you looking to level up in life with your health, mindset, and personal mission statement? Are you a coach of a sports team or leader of an organization looking to build critical leadership skills for your team? If so, then look no further than GetBurly.com. The Get Burly brand offers life coaching, personal fitness programming, and team building retreats, clinics, and seminars, all designed to empower individuals and teams to become the best versions of themselves. The Get Burly Team Building and Leadership Development Division works specifically with athletic teams, corporate groups, and educational institutions. Through their signature seminars, workshops, and/or retreats, Get Burly will have your team firing on all cylinders and working as an inspired, cohesive unit, committed to the mission and vision of your program or organization. Get Burly will build the inner strength necessary for you and your team to gain clarity around your mission, input strategies to enhance mindfulness, amplify personal accountability and ownership, and much, much more. Do yourself and your team a favor and visit GetBurly.com. Get Burly. Be the best version of you. Okay, we are back. Welcome back from the break, everybody. So before the break, I was going to talk about a couple of things that I really liked about meditating. And one of those things was, once I was able to focus on it effectively, was breathing. Really thinking about your breath and what's happening, like visualizing your lungs filling up and then deflating, and trying to get really slow with my breathing. The other thing I enjoyed was visualizing, keeping your feet flat on the floor. I was sitting in a chair, and my feet were flat on the floor, and feeling like literally, working on feeling my feet sort of sinking into the floor with every breath. I enjoyed that once I started to really get it. And then finally, when I was done, in the feeling of sort of relaxation in the few moments right after I was done meditating, felt pretty good. So I will get back into it. That's my goal.
I will say that you sort of, as an outsider, you were a happier person.
Yeah.
When you were doing that. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. You were calmer. You were more even tempered.
Okay.
It could have been that, that maybe it wasn't the meditation and mindfulness that caused that. Maybe it was sort of where you were in your life at that point in time.
Right.
That also allowed you to be mindful and to do meditation. But I do think that there was a benefit for you. Yeah. And you at the time subscribed a benefit to it because you were telling everybody, like the right. target person, there's your target reference. The target person would be like, how are you today? And you'd be like, fantastic. I'm doing mindfulness. You never really did that.
No,
but
I didn't.
That's it's close.
Right. Well, I think you kind of just inadvertently inspired me to do something different with my runs, because running for me
now, you mean?
Yeah, has always been twofold. I enjoy it, and it's like me time, but also, it's good for my health.
Right.
And I think I can combine or attempt to combine a little bit of mindfulness with the run. But again, I oftentimes that's when I listen to podcasts is when I run. But if I just shut that off and focus on my surroundings and being aware, it's a little bit of a mindfulness run.
Right.
There's another resource I wanted to share and discuss, informal mindfulness exercises. And this is from Acceptance and Commitment Therapy Introductory Workshop handout from 2007, Dr. Russell Harris. I don't know where you got this from, but you gave it to me on a printout. And it says, mindfulness in your morning routine. Pick an activity that constitutes part of your daily morning routine, such as brushing your teeth, shaving, having a shower, taking a shower.
Do you have a shower? Are they not from America?
Maybe not. When you do it, totally focus on what you were doing, the body movements,
maybe
the taste.
Maybe there's somewhere where they use a washroom.
That's true. Like Toronto. The taste, the touch, the smell, the sight, the sound, etc. For example, when you're in the shower, notice the sounds of the water as it sprays out of the nozzle and hits your body, etc. I like that idea. I like being able to figure out how you can incorporate mindfulness in your daily routine, in your everyday work, so that you can do it.
Right. I mean, your example of when you used to do it, 2 minutes before you would start your work day, like go in right. and before you picked up the phone or sent an email, you would sit for 2 minutes. Right. I'm sure everyone can find 2 minutes.
Absolutely.
And if your 2 minutes has to be like in your car before you head into work, then that can happen as well.
Absolutely.
But wait, before you go on, that mindfulness in the shower reminds me of that orange in the shower. Remember we talked about that, I don't know, maybe 10 episodes ago or so. We saw it on BuzzFeed about sort of the experience of eating a cold orange in the shower. It really was about mindfulness, because you couldn't be thinking about like, what do I have to get at Target today, while you're like peeling and eating this like sticky, wet, cold orange while showering. It was really a mindful experience.
What's funny is what came to mind for me is I enjoyed that activity. I take most of my showers during the week.
Oh my gosh.
At the gym,
please. At the Y, which is just a weird thing to me that like God, there's this weird that the men.
It's not just the Y, it's all gyms.
Because,
all male.
Yes, that's a different. It's weird to me.
All men's locker rooms.
You all just shower naked together. It's weird. So this week, can you please bring an orange in after your workout and just eat the orange in the Y.
Can you imagine?
With all the naked men with their flip flops.
That Listen, I don't want to get up on my MRSA soapbox, but not everybody does wear flip flops, and not
gross.
Everybody puts on something like underwear or shorts when they sit down on the benches. It's a little bit gross sometimes. But I was going to say that wouldn't be the weirdest thing I've seen in the men's locker room, somebody eating an orange while taking a shower. But that would be funny.
Social experiment.
Yes.
Do you think the person who like routinely sits with his naked bum on a bench would complain that someone was eating an orange in the shower? I
don't know.
I bet they would.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh boy. All right. Sorry. I derailed you a little bit there.
That's funny though. Mindfulness of domestic chores. That's what's next on this informal mindfulness exercise. Pick an activity such as ironing clothes, washing dishes, vacuuming floors. Do it mindfully. For example, when ironing clothes, notice the color, the shape of the clothing, the pattern made by the creases, etc. I mean, I literally just mowed the lawn, and I feel like I missed out on an opportunity to have mindfulness.
Yeah.
While I was mowing the lawn. What was I doing? Listening to I had my headphones in, listening to a podcast.
Yeah. So maybe finding some time during those sort of mundane tasks that you use a podcast for, to maybe before you turn on a podcast to take a minute and be mindful. Or when the podcast goes to commercial, right? Sort of going back to that notion of like tying it to cues, environmental cues. Maybe anytime they go to a commercial, you hit pause and you mindfully do whatever it is you're doing right then, whether it's driving or eating or mowing the lawn or vacuuming the house or whatever. So the goal here is to try to incorporate this in many ways during your daily routine, so that you are giving your brain a chance to stop worrying, stop judging, stop thinking, stop working, but just to stop. You know, I often compare people to cars, and I know it's crude, but it works. If you can't just drive your car 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You've got to sometimes like pull over and put it in park and give it a rest. You've got to give yourself a rest from driving it, right? Like even truck drivers who do that for a living have to stop more than just to sleep.
Right.
You got to stop sometimes with your brain.
Absolutely.
And mindfulness is a way to train your brain to do that and see how it feels. And you've got lots of options here. Go to your app store right now and look it up.
Yeah.
You can also record your own. So if you do a Google
It's
search,
interesting.
I had a few here. If you do a Google search, you can find a whole bunch of like guided meditations. You could record your own voice if you want to, and then play it for yourself.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. Or you could record my voice.
Yeah.
Like
or if you want us to do it for you for a nominal fee, you can I'm just kidding.
No, you could. Well, there's this longer one. I guess I won't do that one. Or maybe I will. Maybe I will just read a few minutes of it, like a minute of it, so you can see what these sort of guided meditations are like. Before
you do that, there was the final point here on this first page for Dr. Harris's handout is again and again your attention will wander, which is my issue. As soon as you realize this has happened, gently acknowledge it, note what distracted you, and bring your attention back to your current activity. So yeah, that's a good way to focus on awareness. So I have a couple questions for you about mindfulness, but do you want to read the...
Sure. Like this would be a sample of something you could find this would be sort of a guided meditation. So if you wanted to spend 2 minutes and actually do like a meditation and have someone sort of guide you through being mindfully aware, it would be something like this. Assume a comfortable posture lying on your back or sitting. If you are sitting, keep the spine straight and let your shoulders drop. Close your eyes if it feels comfortable. Bring your attention to your belly, feeling it rise or expand gently on the in-breath and fall or recede on the out-breath. Keep your focus on the breathing, being with each in-breath for its full duration and with each out-breath for its full duration, as if you were riding the waves of your own breathing. So see, you could do that yourself, right?
Yeah.
You could sort of, I'm going to sit in my chair and focus on my breath and focus on my belly expanding and collapsing. But sometimes it's easier to just have someone directing you to do it. And you can sort of play around. You know, you might not like the first app you download or the first sort of YouTube video, but maybe you don't like the person's voice or their the pace of their speech. So do something different. Find someone different. There's this can work for everybody. There's a way that everybody can make this fit into their lives and reap the benefits.
That was from a publication from 1996.
Buttons in. This will be in the show notes.
Talk to me about your meditation experience. Have you meditated successfully, unsuccessfully, or what was your experience?
For my meditation experience, I go back to my history with yoga because I think yoga is really great practice in terms of mindfulness and meditation. And when I'm doing that, when I incorporate yoga into my life again, I'm incorporating mindfulness because, you know.
So much of yoga is about being aware of your breathing. Your
breathing, being non-judgmental, kind of listening to your body. And then the end of it is always kind of like a guided meditation in a way. And so it's good practice and a good reminder to sort of bring your focus back to your breath. So for me, with meditation, I always turn to my breath and being really aware of what that feels like. And the benefits of it. That's been my experience. And I have used Calm, and I did like
Did you use
I liked Calm better than Headspace.
You did?
I think I didn't like the guy's voice in Headspace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what I like about yoga, I enjoy yoga as well. And it sounds funny. I feel like I don't have time for yoga. Like I literally only have time for a 20 to 25 minute workout every day.
Well, it was funny. So we were away in Toronto and got a text from the person that was staying with our kids and our pets saying like, basically, whoa, I have so much respect for you guys. I had no idea how busy your weeks are.
Right.
She got to kind of live our week, although not really because she wasn't the one doing the coaching. And, you know, you like,
right, exactly.
So, yes, I think a lot of people say, I don't have time. And a lot of providers will be like, well, you make time for it. If it's important to you, you make time for it.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh, our neighbor we have to shut this down. My neighbor just sent me a picture. That lives next door to us now. She has a puppy.
A puppy? Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, so cute. I'm going to go meet it. Bye, y'all.
No. Focus.
Being mindful.
Being mindful and
totally lost what I
non-judgmental
was,
and aware of your surroundings.
That puppy threw me off.
Yeah. What I was going to say was I enjoy yoga very much. I need to find more time to fit it into my life. But what I like the most about yoga is the cool down, because that's really where you're focusing on the mindfulness element, especially if you're doing like a power yoga or yoga that's getting a heart rate going. When you're cooling down at the end and you're laying there and the instructor is telling you to basically like melt into the floor, like you're just laying there on your back, and your fingertips feel them sinking into the floor. Feel your back sinking into the floor. Focus on your breathing in and out. Like that whole, it sounds right now like Everett is doing a yoga cool down. He is sleeping hard. But I love that element of yoga. And you got to make sure if you do yoga that you give yourself time to have the cool down, because that really is where the good work about yoga and mindfulness is done, is during the cool down.
But
do you agree with that?
Yes, but you don't really call it the cool down, but
I don't know. What's it called?
I forget. So I forget. Thanks for putting me on the spot.
Sure.
The puppy has thrown me off.
Yeah,
like it's
the puppy is
back
distracting
from Vermont
you.
right
It's
now. If the puppy was next door, I would be out. I would just be
Are they
next
not
door.
home?
No, they're driving back from Vermont with it right now.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so that puppy has really thrown me off. Yoga doesn't work for everybody, right?
Right.
So yoga is an avenue for mindfulness. Meditation is an avenue for mindfulness. This focusing on your breathing, avenues for mindfulness. These apps, avenues for mindfulness. There's all different ways that you can try to incorporate mindfulness in your life, and you don't have to like carve out an hour for a yoga class. You could just start by carving out 2 minutes before the beginning of your workday to be really mindful. And you might need to set a reminder in your phone, like, time to be mindful, so that you remember. I think a lot of those apps will do that. Those apps will remind you, so they'll pop up a notification like with some sort of motivational quote. But we're all busy. It's a busy world out there. It's a stressful world. We're heading into kind of the holiday season. If you're listening to us sort of in real time here, we're heading into, in America, election season. It's election season in other countries right now. There is stress everywhere. And if you can just even take 2 minutes a day to pause that stress, you're going to reap the benefits, because you're going to kind of clear your mind. You're just going to be able to start your day or end your day with a little more energy and a little more positivity and a little more awareness about what really matters. So definitely encourage everyone to try it. And I guess now that we're sharing this, we're both kind of committing to doing this again in our own way.
Well, and for me, finding the informal moments, trying to fit mindfulness in with the daily routine, the daily activities, I think that's where I'm going to succeed the most in reintroducing mindfulness back into my life. I wanted to share just one more point from mindful.org on the great resource, by the way, on that website. Common mindfulness questions. Question number 1, is there a wrong way to meditate or a right way to meditate? And it says here, people think they're messing up when they're meditating because of how busy their mind is. But, which is what I said. I guess I needed to be a little kinder to myself. But it says here, but getting lost in thought, noticing it, and returning to your chosen meditation object, breath, sound, body sensation, or something else, is how it's done. That's about it. You're doing that. If you're doing that, you're doing it right. So the answer is not really. There really isn't a wrong way to meditate. If you are finding yourself unable to shut off your mind, but you're aware of that, that's really the first step. Yeah,
like if you're, it's kind of like this puppy, right? Like I'm sure when they try to take
oh my God, you and the puppy. I know.
When they try to take this puppy for a walk, I'm sure it's going to keep like trying to pull them away and look at things, and they're going to kind of keep pulling the puppy back. You just got to like pull your mind back.
And they're going to have to fight off Jenny from next door as she tries to take the puppy away from them.
I mean... Yeah, they should they should watch out.
All right. Do you have anything else for us today on this mindfulness episode?
No, I think the show notes for this are going to be quite dense. So definitely check out.
We might hit our character limit on our podcast hosting site.
So definitely check out those sites and do some reading up on it. Download a couple of the apps, like Josh said. Just go to the App Store and write in mindfulness or meditation. Download a whole bunch of them. Try a whole bunch of them. Don't spend any money on them. But then once you're done with the trial period, you can see if, you want to continue them or not. But yeah, give it a try.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for listening. For today's show notes links, there are many of them, but you can start with mindful.org. You can visit the Center for Mindfulness, UMass Medical School, umassmed.edu/CFM. You can also check out therapistaid.com and many others. Headspace was the name of that app, and Calm was the name of the other app. This episode was for education and entertainment purposes only. Should you need additional support, please contact your healthcare provider for information and referrals. Please follow us on Facebook at Changing Perspectives Podcast and on Instagram at Changing Perspectives Blog. You can send us an email to changingpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website by going to changingperspectivesblog.com. And while you're there, don't forget to visit the shop to check out all of that Changing Perspectives merchandise. Go ahead and subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Say bye, Jenny.
Bye, Jenny.
The Changing Perspectives Podcast is produced, recorded, and edited by Dizzy Studios. Please visit Dizzy Bird Studios on Facebook, facebook.com/DizzyBirdStudios.